Damn it, if only I had come half a year earlier. Shu slapped his thigh. At this moment, Tony Stark had already discovered a new element and solved the palladium poisoning problem. He missed out on the second biggest money-making opportunity for time travelers. The first one being the cave rescue. Hold on. Did I miss something? Suddenly, Shu remembered. The plot of Iron Man 3 seemed to take place after Avengers Alliance 1. Because after carrying a nuclear bomb into a black hole, Tony Stark suffered from severe PTSD, and then his old rival, Killian, who developed Extremis, appeared. After that, it was the typical story of a superhero fighting against a villain. What a waste of such a nice house. Recalling the entire plot of Iron Man 3. Shu realized that he only cared about the beachfront villa that was destroyed. No choice. Poor, by the way, how did the other time travelers make money? Apart from Stark's 2 missions, it seems like the only option left is to rob each other, right? Shu rubbed his chin, contemplating whether he should also borrow some money from the newbie village boss, Jin, to spend. Boom. Just as Shu was contemplating, an explosion suddenly came from a distance on the street, followed by screeching brakes, gunshots, and cursing. Shu hadn't figured out the situation yet, but he saw all the other customers in the breakfast shop quickly crouching under their tables. Their movements were swift and skilled. Then, a cash transport truck whizzed past the window. The blown-open trunk emitted billowing black smoke, and as it drove by, green banknotes scattered and filled the street. Is this a live-action version of Give Love to Him? Shu instantly realized that it was a cash transport robbery. Soon after, the sound of police sirens came from a distance. The sound of helicopter rotor blades also echoed in the sky. No wonder it's Hell's Kitchen, at least 3 stars for this. Adhering to the virtue of not wasting a good show, Shu decisively got up. Young man, are you crazy? Get down quickly. Seeing someone about to leave, the Chinese auntie in the breakfast shop kindly reminded him. Shu responded with a smile and walked out directly. Just as he stepped out, a banknote, carrying the smell of gunpowder, happened to be blown over by the wind. Shu caught it effortlessly. Very good. Another 100 in his pocket. What a simple and honest place. Looking at the scattered $100 bills on the street, Shu didn't join in the money-grabbing frenzy. Instead, he walked towards the direction the cash transport truck had left. As he walked, he fully utilized the excellent virtue of making a last-ditch effort. He took out the magic book he borrowed from Wang and read it while walking. Tracking magic. This will do. He picked up the banknote he had just caught. Shu drew a symbol in the air and recited an incantation. Just like the ancient one said, most magic is just a framework, and any energy can make it work. After finishing the incantation, the banknote in Shu's hand was immediately ignited by a sinister hellfire. The ashes formed an arrow in the air, visible only to Shu, firmly pointing in one direction. One success. Indeed, I am a 1 in a million magic genius. Seeing the successful tracking magic, Shu was overjoyed. He put away the magic book with the cover titled, Basic Practical Magic, Beginner's Edition, and followed the arrow. On the other side, the police helicopter responsible for tracking in the air also lost sight of the target when the cash transport truck entered the D-21 tunnel. Target lost. Target lost. The suspect driving the cash transport truck has entered the D-21 tunnel. Requesting ground intervention. The helicopter hovered in the air, waiting for the police cars to arrive. However, when they finally arrived at the tunnel, they found only an abandoned cash transport truck. People are gone. Money is gone. Classic. So classic. Outside the tunnel, Shu stood outside the newly erected barrier, watching with great interest. Truly the European and American region, this kind of Hollywood blockbuster can be seen casually. But seriously, how come there's no superhero to deal with this kind of thing happening in broad daylight? Shu complained. Then he followed the magic arrow and left the tunnel entrance. Eventually, guided by the arrow, he arrived near a sewer drain in the outskirts. Just arrived at the scene, Shu saw several people covered in mud struggling to crawl out of the sewer. They were also dragging 2 suitcases wrapped in waterproof bags. Damn, it stinks. Alright, stop complaining. At least we're all alive. Xiaofu, go check if our boat is still there. If there's no problem, we'll evacuate according to the original plan. Okay. The people who crawled out of the sewer were obviously a professional team. They quickly started working in an organized manner. Quite professional. Not far away, Shu silently observed them. Until the group reached the side of the boat, washed their hands, and opened the waterproof bags wrapping the suitcases, he finally stood up slowly. There was no dirty work left, it was time for the hero to appear. I advise you to put down your guns and surrender. However, before Shu could step forward, a voice rang out first. The person was wearing a red bodysuit and holding 2 short sticks. Through the 2 small horns on his head, Shu immediately recognized the person's identity. Daredevil. No, why is this blind guy out in the daytime? Isn't he Nightcrawler? Shu frowned. Just then, a fight broke out. Several robbers, realizing their position was exposed, didn't hesitate and launched the first attack. But obviously, these petty thieves were no match for Daredevil. With just a few moves, they were all knocked out. Daredevil didn't kill. After knocking out the robbers, he tied them together with a rope and prepared to call the police. Suddenly, Daredevil's ears twitched. He pointed his short sticks in a vigilant manner towards a direction. Even a blind guy has good ears, Shu muttered to himself as he jumped down from his hiding spot. I've been following these people all the way, and you just show up halfway to steal the credit, isn't that inappropriate? Shu said, but his gaze was fixed on the 2 suitcases filled with money. Who are you? Daredevil tightened his grip on the short sticks. From Shu, he felt an unprecedented pressure. Not to mention anything else, just by listening to the opponent's heartbeat, Daredevil felt a terrifying palpitation. It was as if the person in front of him wasn't a human at all, but a ferocious beast, or even a devil. Me? I'm Batman. Seeing Daredevil's frightened expression, Shu's mouth curled up. Little did he know that as soon as he said that, Daredevil immediately put away his sticks and his expression became less tense. Still Batman? Do you think I've never read DC Comics? No, how can a blind guy like you read comics? You can't take away this money, it's the hard-earned money of American taxpayers. And yet you can't defeat me. By taking this money, how are you any different from those robbers? The difference is that you can't defeat me. Daredevil couldn't say anything anymore. Can't defeat. Really can't defeat. The power that Shu emanated made Daredevil unable to muster the will to fight. He could only watch helplessly as Shu claimed the 2 large boxes of American bills for himself. Not bad, I estimate it's around 1 to 2 million. Shu lifted the boxes and happily weighed them. More than that. The 2 boxes combined are probably around 1.5 million. Daredevil said calmly. Having dealt with criminals enough times, he knew exactly how much money a suitcase of that size could hold. You seem to know your stuff, lawyer. Shu became even more delighted upon hearing that. Hey, over $1 million, picked up from the ground, can you believe it? Lawyer? You know my identity. Upon hearing the words, lawyer, Daredevil's expression immediately turned serious. What if I do? Don't forget, you still can't defeat me. Shu looked at Daredevil with an expression that said, don't do anything stupid, as a reminder. Daredevil's face stiffened. Fortunately, at that moment, the sound of police sirens came from a distance, relieving his embarrassment. Ahem, I have to go. Daredevil just wanted to slip away, he didn't want to have any more contact with the person in front of him. Who is this person? Always talking about whether he can defeat or not. I have to go too. By the way, do you have a good place to go? But Shu didn't plan to let Daredevil off so easily. No choice. Not familiar with the area. Finally encountering someone he knows, how could he not take advantage of it? Daredevil initially wanted to refuse. But in his mind, that devilish voice seemed to echo again, you can't defeat me, you can't defeat me. He could only sigh. Helplessly, he said. Follow me, I have a safe house nearby. Soon, Shu followed Daredevil to a secluded rental house. Along the way, Daredevil changed his attire, wearing a suit, sunglasses, and a blind cane, transforming back into the lawyer, Matt Murdock. It's safe here, ordinary people won't come here. Matt Murdock opened the door with a key. A pungent smell of disinfectant and a faint smell of blood rushed over. Is there a dead man inside? Matt Murdock almost choked on his breath. If you know how to talk, then say more. I usually come here to bandage my wounds, so there's a bit of a smell. After listening to Daredevil's explanation, Shu silently pulled open the curtains and opened the window. Phew, fresh air still smells the best. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Daredevil is not a fool. He knows very well that someone as powerful as Superman would not follow him for no reason. But I want to tell you, I won't help you do anything illegal, even if you kill me. Daredevil's serious expression proved that he was not joking. In his opinion, if Chu Shu wanted him to do something wicked and against his conscience, he would rather fight to the death. Looking at Daredevil's heroic sacrifice, Chu Shu hesitated whether to speak or not. After all, he had already said so much, but in the end, Chu Shu still voiced his inner thoughts. Actually, I just wanted to ask if you know anyone who can help me get a legal identity. Money is not a problem. Daredevil's expression froze. Is that it? Just getting an ID? He had gone so far as to say those harsh words, and all you want is an ID? Well, I do know some people who might be able to help. Daredevil looked a bit embarrassed. To ease the awkwardness, he decided to pay for this himself. You don't need to worry about money, just getting an identity is no problem. Well, you're really nice. Hearing that he didn't have to pay, Chu Shu was naturally happy. But he couldn't help but have a sarcastic thought in his heart, so he asks, Mr. Lawyer, is forging an identity considered illegal in America? You're doing this on purpose. Daredevil's face turned red. He knew that Chu Shu said that because of his earlier statement about not doing anything illegal. Is there a possibility that I really am Batman, just arrived from the DC universe, so I know nothing about the laws of this world? There is absolutely no possibility. With the help of Daredevil, or more precisely, the connections of the lawyer Matt Murdock. In less than 2 days, a complete set of identification documents was placed in front of Chu Shu. Driver's license, passport, SSN, everything he needed. Even the mobile phone card he needed. Thanks, if you ever have any difficulties, go to 177A Bleecker Street and mention my name. Chu Shu, who was playing games in front of the computer, took the documents. He had been staying in Daredevil's rental house these past 2 days, playing games and learning about the Marvel world through the internet. Aside from the differences, he actually discovered some things. Unlike the pure Marvel movie world, this world not only had characters from American TV shows like Daredevil. It also included some records of werewolves and vampires, but the credibility was low, similar to urban legends. Chu Shu speculated that this might be a world that integrated all Marvel movies and TV shows. Definitely, except for mutants. Chu Shu searched for a long time but couldn't find any information about mutants. 177A Bleecker Street? Okay, I got it. Matt Murdock said he remembered, but he didn't really take it seriously. He thought it was just another empty promise from Chu Shu, and he was used to it. However, this time he was wrong, because 177A Bleecker Street was actually the address of a holy place in New York. I've rented an apartment for you in Queens, you can live there from now on. Matt Murdock took out a key. He just wanted to quickly get rid of this big Buddha. These past 2 days, he had been hearing Chu Shu babbling about sacrifices, summoning, and dimensional demons. It made him suspect for a moment if this guy was some kind of cult leader. By the way, Mr. Lawyer, do you know anyone at the blood bank? I want to purchase a few 100 kilograms of blood. Why do you need so much blood? I say it's for maintaining world peace, do you believe me? Matt Murdock gave a, what do you think, expression. Clearly, he didn't believe this explanation. Well then, just mind your own business. There are people everywhere, if I were a bad person, would I need to spend money to buy blood? Chu Shu shrugged. Killing ordinary people to summon demons. Even the Ancient One might not tolerate such a thing, let alone Chu Shu himself. After all, throughout human history, those who could do such things were probably few and far between. Alright, I will help you make the arrangements. Matt Murdock clearly understood this point as well. One had to admit, as a lawyer, Matt Murdock's connections in New York were absolutely terrifying. He knew everyone in both the legal and illegal worlds. Thanks. After Chu Shu finished speaking, just as he was about to get up, a sense of danger suddenly struck him. He turned his head to look outside the window. A smoking rocket was heading straight towards them. For a moment, Chu Shu really wanted to shout, RPG, like the American soldiers in the movies. But it was too late. Boom! The rocket shattered the glass. The moment it entered the room, it exploded with a loud bang. The smoke and flames from the explosion engulfed the entire rental house in the blink of an eye. Adhering to the principle of, where there's smoke, there's no harm, Chu Shu walked out of the thick smoke unscathed in the next second. And as a side note, he also saved Daredevil. Has your identity been exposed? Chu Shu walked to the window. Looking at the several people on the opposite rooftop who were loading RPGs into rocket launchers, he asks. Cough. I don't think so. They probably just tracked this rental house. Matt Murdock shook his head. Covered in smoke, he coughed while changing into Daredevil's red costume. Shu couldn't be bothered to comment on his behavior of changing clothes to play the part in this situation. You said this place was safe? Daredevil was a bit speechless. Even the wise can make mistakes, and he wasn't sure when this safe house had been compromised. They are Jin Bin's people. I disrupted their deal last time, the one worth tens of millions of dollars. Daredevil said coldly, tens of millions? Well, if it were me, I would want to kill you too. After Shu finished speaking, he pushed open the door that had been shaken by the explosion and walked out. Someone's coming out. Open fire. The people on the opposite rooftop, seeing someone coming out alive, immediately pulled the trigger. Bullets rained down on Shu like a shower. It tickles. Shu didn't move, ever since he obtained his first demonic power. He had already tested the attack of small-caliber handgun bullets, and the conclusion was complete immunity. Not to mention now, damn, this guy is a monster. Quick. Use the RPG. Seeing Shu completely immune to bullets, the people on the opposite rooftop started to panic, frantically loading the rocket launchers. Too late. Shu leapt into the air. Boom. The floor beneath his feet instantly exploded. And his whole person, like a bullet fired from a gun, flew towards the opposite building. Damn. A white man widened his eyes. Firing frantically. Even when the magazine was empty, it couldn't stop Shu's leap. Seeing Shu approaching, the white man continued to pull the trigger, but all he heard was the sound of an empty chamber. In your next life, remember to get an extended magazine. Shu said. With a slap, he sent the man flying off the rooftop. Falling from a height of 7 or 8 floors, he turned into a puddle of flesh upon landing. Damn, he killed Joe. Seeing this, the people around went crazy and started shooting like mad. But it still couldn't change the fate of being slapped away one by Shu. F*K. Go die. In the end, only one person remained and finally loaded the RPG. He didn't care whether this distance would harm himself. Lifting the rocket launcher, aiming at Shu, he pulled the trigger. Boom. The rocket flew straight towards him. But Shu caught it with one hand. Immediately after, the rocket exploded less than half a meter away from Shu with a loud bang. And then, the next second, Shu walked out of the explosion's fireball. Even his clothes were unharmed, protected by the barrier formed by demonic power. Plop. Seeing this scene, the last surviving subordinate of Jin Bing completely lost his mind. He collapsed on the ground. Devil, you are a devil. He muttered to himself, obviously mentally unstable. Shu didn't waste any words. He directly picked him up and threw him downstairs. Crack. After dealing with the last person, Shu went downstairs. Until this moment, the Night Devil had hurriedly changed his clothes and arrived. You killed them all? Although the Night Devil couldn't see. His other senses discovered the gruesome corpses around him. Yeah, what about it? Shu's expression wasn't very good. After all, it was his first time killing someone. You're asking about the black guy from 2 days ago? Shu. Sorry, as long as I think he's asleep, then he's not dead. You could have captured them and called the police. The Night Devil's expression wasn't very good. He was that kind of standard superhero, a righteous cop. Similar to DC's Batman, they both adhered to the principle of not killing. But Shu obviously didn't have such concerns. They all threw RPGs at me, and I shouldn't kill them? Do you think I'm cute? Shu rolled his eyes. Then he glanced at the bodies on the ground and the ground stained with blood. Suddenly, he froze. You're right, I really shouldn't have killed them. The Night Devil paused. He thought Shu had changed. I should have kept them for blood extraction. Damn, so much blood wasted. Shu slapped his thigh. That's right, he only cared about the blood flowing on the ground. As for these people, come on, he's not a saint. Who would care about the life and death of a bunch of gangsters? I understand. You and Frank are the same kind of person. The Night Devil sighed. He realized that Shu was similar to the Punisher. Both were people who used any means necessary and showed no mercy to their enemies. This matter won't end today. With Jin Bing's power, he will soon find out that you killed his men. The Night Devil really wanted to handle this matter alone. After all, it started because of him. But the problem was, everyone knew he didn't kill. It's fine. Regarding the Night Devil's warning, Shu not only felt indifferent, but also found it a bit funny. He didn't plan to pay attention to this newbie village boss in the first place. But unexpectedly, they still crossed paths in the end. Alright, it feels a bit like destiny. By the way, you don't need to contact the blood bank for me. I know where to get blood. After experiencing an attack from Kingpin and his men, Daredevil's safe house is definitely not safe. And this safe house is not safe either. Farewell, Daredevil. Shu came alone to Queens. He found the house that Daredevil helped him rent. Surprisingly, the house next door is none other than the famous Ben Parker and his family. That's right, it's the uncle's family who adopted little Spider-Man. But now, Peter Parker hasn't become Spider-Man yet, he's just an ordinary high school student. You ask why Shu is so sure? Because the uncle is still alive. When Shu arrived, the old man was watering the plants on the balcony. The house that Daredevil rented is a standard American-style cottage. To be precise, the whole street is filled with these two-story cottages. Comes with a garage and a basement. Open the door. The furnishings in the house are complete, ready to move in. But Shu doesn't have much luggage. The only thing worth mentioning are the 2 suitcases full of money. It can be said that he has nothing except money. Finally, a place to stay. After entering the house, Shu put down the suitcases and immediately lay down on the sofa. Now he has money, an identity, and a place to live. He can barely stand firm in the Marvel world. The next step is to borrow some blood from Kingpin and summon the Shadow Devil. After Shu finished speaking, he turned on the TV. Adopting the same posture as Uncle Jay, he prepared to start a new day of slacking off. Just as he lay down for a while, ding-ling. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Shu got up unhappily and opened the door. A young and inexperienced boy stood at the door, holding a plate of steaming pancakes in his hand. Obviously, they were just taken off the stove. Hello, I'm Peter Parker, your neighbor. My aunt just made these pancakes and asked me to bring them to you. Welcome to be our new neighbor. Peter Parker held the pancakes and said seriously. Oh, thank you, I'm Shu. Please thank your aunt for me, they smell amazing. Shu's face no longer showed any displeasure, he smiled and took the pancakes. There's no way. You can't hit someone who smiles at you. And the other party knows how to be polite. Okay. Peter Parker nodded and continued, also, my Uncle Ben thinks that since you just moved here, it might be inconvenient for you to cook, so he wants to invite you to our dinner tonight. Shu was completely speechless. This family truly lives up to their reputation as Marvel's good people. After accepting Ben Parker's dinner invitation, Shu sent Peter Parker away and couldn't help but sigh. But in fact, this kind of situation is normal. Especially when you just move into a community. Many neighbors will bring homemade snacks to visit, or simply invite you to their homes. The purpose is to get to know the new neighbor, and the Ben Parker family is no exception. Evening came quickly. Shu arrived at Ben Parker's house on time and rang the doorbell. Definitely, he didn't come empty-handed, but bought a bottle of wine and a box of chocolates as a gift. Soon, the door opened. A woman in her 30s or 40s, still charming, appeared at the door. You must be Peter Parker's aunt, right? Thank you for the pancakes you sent today, they were really delicious. Shu said, handing over the gift. Don't call me aunt, it makes me sound old. You can call me Aunt May, just like Peter. Aunt May's face lit up with a happy smile. She warmly welcomed Shu inside. Enter the house. Several people are already sitting around the dining table. In addition to Peter Parker and his uncle, there is a chubby Asian boy. And a beautiful blonde girl. Hello, Shu, this is my uncle, Ben. This is my good friend Ned Leeds, and this is also my good friend Gwen Stacy. Upon seeing Shu's arrival, Peter Parker stood up and introduced the people around. Shu responded one by one and introduced himself. The dinner quickly began. Aunt May brought out a sumptuous dinner that she had carefully prepared. As they tasted the food and chatted, it was clear that they did not have the habit of eating in silence. Shu also joined in and adapted to the atmosphere. The atmosphere gradually became more relaxed. Everyone became happier as they chatted. And just as Shu was immersed in the warm atmosphere of the dinner. Outside the realm of reality, in the spirit prison. In a magnificent and spectacular demon palace. The first demon from hell to make a contract with Shu, nastier. At this moment, he was trembling and kneeling in front of a giant throne made of molten rock, not daring to lift his head. They say you are the first demon summoned by Mordo. Is that true? A voice came from above the throne. The terrifying aura made Nastier unable to breathe. Because the one sitting on the throne was the ruler of their hell dimension. The controller of the spirit prison, Belast. Yes. Yes, my lord, Faced with the inquiry from the Lord of Hell, Nastier dared not hide anything. He quickly reported everything that had happened at the time. After listening, a low chant came from above the throne. Then, an ancient parchment floated down. Is this the ritual? Hearing the question, Nastier quickly approached the parchment. Yes, my lord, this is it. Nastier would never forget this summoning ritual in his lifetime. The patterns and content on it were exactly the same as what he had seen when he was summoned. Indeed, it's them again. Upon hearing Nastier's response, Belast on the throne suddenly stood up. Its size was several times that of Nastier. When it stood up, its shadow covered more than half of the palace. Only 200 years, these magicians from Kamar Taj have violated the original agreement. Balast's voice was filled with anger. 200 years ago, the magicians of Kamar Taj used the same ritual to summon a large number of demons for combat training. Later, upon learning of the situation, Belast joined forces with another Lord of Hell to exert pressure. Eventually, Kamar Taj was forced to abandon the ritual. But now, only 200 years later, the same ritual not only reappeared, but the impact it caused was even worse than last time. Ancient One, you have gone too far. The more Belast thought about it, the angrier it became. As a level sub-godfather, it couldn't swallow this anger. Spread the word. Build the dimensional portal immediately. A fierce light flashed in Balast's eyes. This time, I will personally go to Earth. Shoo, so you work in the credit industry? Yes, it's quite diverse. I usually handle orders from other regions, not local ones. You're really talented. At the dinner party, everyone was chatting happily. Through this dinner, Shoo successfully got to know Peter Parker and his family, as well as Peter's two friends, Ned and Gwen. Especially Gwen, because under normal circumstances, with Ned being around, it means this is the Dutch version of Spider-Man. That is, the third-generation Spider-Man, and this version doesn't have Gwen Stacy. The female lead in the movie is a mixed-race girl named Michelle Jones, nicknamed MJ. But now, Shoo actually saw Gwen at the Parker's house. Could this be a Spider-Gwen world? Shoo had some doubts. After all, the Marvel Universe is full of all sorts of parallel worlds. Who knows who will eventually become Spider-Man? Soon, in the joyful atmosphere, the dinner gradually came to an end, and this night became the most relaxing day Shoo had since crossing over. Before leaving, Shoo exchanged contact information with everyone. Finally, he returned to his own home. Suddenly, I realized that the Marvel world would be quite nice without all those messed up things. Returning home, Shoo lay on the sofa and couldn't help but sigh. No Thanos. No alien invasions. No world-destroying supervillains. That Marvel world is actually quite suitable for retirement. Leaving aside everything else, Shoo would be happy to live in this community if there were no disasters. At least the people around are friendly. The only downside is that there are too few entertainment options. Shoo took out his phone while lying on the sofa. The Marvel world is a typical world with a developmental imbalance. On one hand, cutting-edge technology is extremely advanced, while on the other hand, civilian technology is extremely backward. Take Iron Man, for example, with miniature nuclear fusion, exoskeleton armor, and the holographic projection in his house. All of them are high-tech. But when it comes to civilian use, Shoo held the latest iPhone in his hand. It's not even a full screen, with top and bottom bezels that can accommodate an aircraft carrier. This is considered good. Next door, little Spider-Man even uses a flip phone. The huge gap between cutting-edge technology and civilian technology is even more evident in the entertainment industry. The entertainment projects in the Marvel world are extremely scarce. There are only 1 or 2 fun games, not even a phenomenon level 1. We even have holographic projections. Wouldn't it be great to have a head-mounted holographic VR for gaming? Shoo felt that the people in the Marvel world lacked imagination. If he were to bring over the R-Star from his previous life, he would definitely give them a little shock. But even though he said that, Shoo quickly unlocked his phone and opened one of the few fun games. The Glory of the Superhero League, that's right. This is a stitched game combining the League of Legends and King of Glory. The characters in it are some familiar superheroes. There are superheroes from the Marvel real world, and also from the neighboring DC universe. 5th floor, Batman is taken. If you don't give it, I'll give it to you. Check my record. As soon as Shu Shu entered the game, he immediately started friendly communication with his teammates. Damn it. You've lost a page of your record. Do you still have the nerve to ask for a position? Seeing someone cursing at him, Shu Shu glanced at his ID. Florida doesn't tolerate idleness. Don't put me on the opposite team next round, or I'll show you what it means to be hit by 5 flying darts in 1 second. While communicating amiably, Shu Shu decisively locked in Batman on the 5th floor, as support. Because no one asked for the position, the final result, unsurprisingly, led to failure. You chose Batman? Do you even know how to play bat flying darts? Note: the translation assumes that bat flying darts is a term specific to the game and not a literal translation of a Chinese term. The game is over. Watching, Florida doesn't raise idlers, typing on the settlement page's public chat. Shu Shu's expression becomes increasingly ugly. Soon, the second game begins, and once again, they encounter this: Florida doesn't raise idlers, still as a teammate. Even the final result is the same: failure. Batman. It's Batman again. Hey, you play so poorly, how dare you choose him? The second round ends, Florida doesn't raise idlers, starts outputting like crazy. Florida doesn't raise idlers, right? You wait for me. Shu Shu's face darkens. After saying that, he immediately takes out the magic book borrowed from Wang. Unfortunately, after flipping through it for a while, he still can't find a magic that can beat someone through the internet. No, I can't bear this grudge from behind the screen. After a moment, Kamar Taj. After listening to Shu Shu's explanation, a puzzled expression fills Wang's round face. Just because of this, you want to use a high-level magic? Wang can't understand, but he still helps find a magic book. You don't understand. Shu Shu doesn't explain much. He opens the magic book, practices a few times, and immediately starts casting. Soon, the power of the demon merges into the magic circle, transforming into a wave of magic energy that sweeps across the globe. Finally, it accurately locks onto a remote town in Florida. Florida doesn't raise idlers, I'm coming. Shu Shu opens a portal. Snapping his fingers, he walks in. Oh, isn't this Superman? Why are you playing so poorly? Haha, and you're still playing Iron Man, and as an ADC? Go find a team, noob. Shu Shu just passed through the portal. He sees a white teenager, around 13 or 14 years old, holding a phone and engaged in intense communication, with his back facing Shu Shu. That familiar sarcastic tone: it's really you. Florida doesn't raise idlers, blah blah blah, I'll keep insulting, what can you do about it? Come and fight me if you dare. Ha ha ha. Gah. The white teenager continues his sarcastic mockery. But as he turns his head, he suddenly realizes that there is someone else in the room, who appeared out of nowhere. Startled, his laughter abruptly stops. He even lets out a strange sound similar to a duck's quack. Who are you? The white teenager trembles and asks. What do you think? Shu Shu's face transforms into a mask resembling Batman. But it is far more terrifying than the real Bat mask due to the demonic powers transformation, naturally exuding a ferocious aura. You are Batman? The white teenager says in disbelief. Correct. Shu Shu claps his hands. Then, with crimson eyes, he walks towards him. Ah! Help! Save me! Batman is attacking. The sound of desperate screams quickly echoes throughout the entire town. Kids these days, just playing around with insults. Regarding this, Shu Shu admits that he is also just playing around, hitting for fun. The next day, Shu Shu woke up refreshed and clear-headed from his bed. What a sleep, he slept incredibly soundly. Grudges like this shouldn't be carried overnight, otherwise you can't sleep well, Shu Shu thought to himself. In a great mood, Shu Shu walked out of his house and greeted every neighbor he encountered. First impressions are always the most important. Now, in the eyes of everyone, this young man who had just moved into the community appeared to be a humble and polite, bright smiling boy next door. If Shu Shu wasn't so quick on his feet, some of the neighborhood aunties were even planning to introduce him to potential partners. No matter which country it is, aunties are always aunties, and they pretty much do the same things. Leaving the community, Shu Shu found a breakfast shop and started his day with a meal. After breakfast, how about going to Avengers Tower for a visit? Shu Shu planned his itinerary for the day while eating. Compared to other time travelers, Shu Shu saw himself more as a tourist. After all, What's wrong with eating, drinking, and having fun? Even if the sky falls, I'll have a bald head to protect me. According to the normal Marvel movie timeline, it's still 2 years away from the death of the Ancient One. Big villains like Thanos won't appear until after the Ancient One's death. This period of time is enough for Chu Shu to have some fun. When I get tired of playing, I'll start saving the world. Just as Chu Shu finished his breakfast and was about to head to Avengers Tower, his phone on the table suddenly vibrated. A call came in. The note on it said, "Horned bread." "What's up, Daredevil?" Chu Shu picked up the phone. Horned bread was his description of the 2 small horns on Daredevil's head. "I've found Kingpin," came Daredevil's voice from the other end of the phone. "The Kingpin's gang will be having a trade with the Mexican cartel in a warehouse in Jefferson Port today. This trade is very important, and he should be there in person." Chu Shu naturally hadn't forgotten about Kingpin, but he was too lazy to go look for him. So he handed the task over to Daredevil. After all, Daredevil and Kingpin were old rivals, and it was a professional match. "Ah? You're asking why he didn't use magic? Come on, not everyone is as despicable as Florida doesn't raise idlers. It would be too wasteful of magic power to use high-level magic just to deal with Kingpin." "Okay, got it," Chu Shu replied, still not very concerned. It wasn't until he casually asks, "By the way, how much money is involved in this trade?" that he became interested. "I'm not sure about the specifics," Daredevil said. "But it shouldn't be less than 10 million, otherwise Kingpin wouldn't show up in person." Chu Shu fell silent. "You wait, I'll be there right away." He hung up the phone. Chu Shu immediately found a secluded place and opened a portal. "As for Avengers Tower? Can you eat that?" Boom. The familiar flame portal opened, and Chu Shu stepped into it immediately. At the same time, on the other side, almost at the same time that Chu Shu entered the portal and disappeared. Less than 100 meters away from the portal, the ground suddenly cracked open, revealing a crack several meters long. Hot air and a pungent smell of sulfur emanated from it. In the border of hell, tens of thousands of demons had come together to create a giant magic circle. This formation stretched for thousands of miles, spanning 2 rivers of lava, and consumed countless obsidian. And all of this was just to break through the barrier between 2 dimensions. To be more specific, it was for one person, Mordo. "Master, the passage has been opened. Just now, we detected a very pure demonic energy fluctuation on Earth. Most likely, that should be the location of Mordo." Listening to the report from the subordinate demon, Bellister's eyes revealed a fierce light. At this moment, it had already put on the set of armor that it used to wear when it fought in different dimensions. It even had a battle sword over 10 meters long at its waist. The reason for being fully armed was naturally to guard against the true level Godfather, Ancient One. "This time, we have the right on our side. No matter what, we must complete the unfinished business from hundreds of years ago. We must plunder enough human souls. Let the border of hell become the most powerful hell dimension. Let the abyss of souls be great again." Bellister was making pre-war mobilization. Its purpose was not just for Mordo. After all, it hadn't been deceived. A mere human was insignificant. But this opportunity was once in 1,000 years. Bellister finally had a legitimate reason to invade Earth. Ancient One, you didn't expect this day, did you?" Bellister uncovered its armor. A horrifying scar appeared on its left arm. That was the mark left by Ancient One when it wanted to invade Earth hundreds of years ago. Now, it was time to return that mark. On the other side, while the demons on the border of hell were mobilizing, Chu Shu, who was completely unaware, had already arrived at the port that Nightcrawler had mentioned. "You said Kingpin would personally be here?" Chu Shu stood on the roof of the warehouse, observing the busy group of people below. Nightcrawler was squatting beside him, listening attentively to the commotion below. "I heard a strong heartbeat. It should be Kingpin's capable subordinates, the targets." "You can hear their heartbeats?" Chu Shu knew that Nightcrawler's hearing was extraordinary. But to hear heartbeats from such a distance, it seemed a bit too much, right? Being blind must have some advantages, right? Nightcrawler self-mockingly smiled. Unfortunately, the intelligence was wrong this time. Kingpin himself did not. Wait. Just as Nightcrawler sighed, a completely black full-size SUV drove over from a distance. It was a whole size larger than regular vehicles. The vehicle stopped. A massive figure slowly squeezed out of the car. Bald. The figure couldn't be described as fat, only as equal in length, width, and height. That's Kingpin, Nightcrawler pointed out. No kidding. I can't recognize this figure, Chushu said sarcastically. At the same time, the people in the warehouse saw Kingpin's arrival and put down what they were doing. They all shouted in unison, "Boss, you guys continue. Before the Mexicans arrive, we must prepare the goods." Kingpin glanced briefly at the crowd and gave instructions. Yes. The crowd responded in unison. Among them, a man with a bullseye tattooed on his forehead walked towards Kingpin. "Boss. Any updates, Bullseye?" Kingpin looked at the man, his capable right-hand man, Bullseye. "Not at the moment, but I'm worried that someone will come and cause trouble like last time." "You mean Nightcrawler and Punisher?" When mentioning these two names, a hint of fierceness flashed in Kingpin's eyes as he coldly said. "Punisher doesn't need to be worried about for the time being. Although he didn't die, he was severely injured by the people I sent out. As for Nightcrawler, the results of his investigation will be out soon. No matter who it is, anyone who kills me won't have an easy time." Kingpin grinned, his smile as terrifying as a devouring beast. "Keep drawing. This large body, 800 milliliters is not enough. At least draw 1008. Chu Shu sat on top of a container. Under Chu Shu's command, his subordinates drew blood from the unconscious Jin Bing. In order to draw blood from this large body, Chu Shu had thoughtfully prepared a veterinary needle. That's right. The kind used to inject pigs in rural areas. Once inserted, the blood flowed back into the tube. Wow. Not much skill, but the blood pressure is not low. Chu Shu watched from the side like a heartless capitalist. He not only drew blood from these people. Afterwards, he made a group of dizzy and disoriented people, who were walking unsteadily, set up a ritual on the other side of the warehouse. Make it clear. Don't mess it up. Otherwise, next time I'll just use you as sacrifices. Chu Shu threatened while watching. A group of ruthless gangsters, who had committed murder and arson, turned pale and trembled in fear. It's over. Could this guy be a madman who believes in demons? Remove the could. He's clearly a madman. Didn't you hear him say he wants to use us as sacrifices? Damn it, the situation had exceeded the expectations of these people. They were not afraid of killing. They were not afraid of dealing in arms. But now, as they looked at the eerie symbols drawn in blood on the ground, as well as the numerous obscure and mysterious inscriptions, everyone present gradually realized that something was wrong with the situation. Daredevil quietly took a few steps back. He arrived at the entrance of the warehouse. His hand reached into his pocket, holding his phone, hesitating whether to make a call to the police. But in the end, he gave up on the idea, because it would be useless. Unless he could summon the Avengers. Otherwise, with the power Chu Shu had shown, calling the police would be a joke. And, it seems like I'm on his side? Daredevil slapped his thigh. As if waking up from a dying illness, the accomplice turned out to be myself. At the same time, the crack that opened on the streets of New York had already attracted the attention of many people. At first, it was just ordinary police officers who received the alarm and came to investigate. But after searching for a long time, they found nothing. The crack emitted high temperatures, it was deep and bottomless. No one knew how it was formed, let alone where it led to. The strange phenomenon quickly caught the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D. So this thing suddenly appeared? S.H.I.E.L.D. Level 7 Agent Grant Ward was ordered to come and investigate. He was accompanied by 2 technicians, Leo Fitz and Gemma Simmons. The instruments detected a strong energy reaction, gamma values are severely exceeded. Conclusion? This crack was not naturally formed, a force gave birth to it. After listening to Leo Fitz's explanation, Grant Ward frowned and pressed his communicator. Boss, can you hear me? A response quickly came from the other end of the communicator. I'm on my way. After a moment, a bald man rushed to the scene. And he was none other than S.H.I.E.L.D. Level 8 Agent Phil Coulson, who was supposed to have died under Loki's scepter during the Battle of New York. Have you found the source of the energy that created this thing? No, the energy source is on the other side. The other side? What do you mean? Phil Coulson's face changed as he arrived at the scene, and he quickly acts. It means, this crack is some kind of portal, just like the one during the Battle of New York. Upon hearing this answer, Phil Coulson seemed to have thought of something bad, and his face changed drastically. Quick! Everyone evacuate, contact the Avengers. Phil Coulson hadn't finished speaking. Suddenly, the ground shook. The crack began to expand at a visible speed. A large amount of scorching lava, like a volcanic eruption, spewed out of the crack. And then, a giant crimson hand stretches out from the lava. It grabs the edge of the crack, tears open the crack, and slowly climbs up, hee, accompanied by laughter. The figure of Nashitor slowly appears. It is a huge and terrifying body. After 100 years, I have finally come here again. Nashitor stands up slowly. Its body is as tall as several floors. With every move, the surrounding buildings burst into flames. Buildings and metals closer to it directly melt, turning into flowing lava. Fragile humans, fragile creations. Nashitor sneers. It looks disdainfully at those ant-like humans, who are panicking and fleeing. Go. Plunder, my warriors. Nashitor gives the order. Countless hell demons that have been restrained for a long time surge out of the crack like a tide. They are impatient, they are densely packed. They spread out like locusts, fierce and terrifying, their eyes filled with bloodthirsty red light. Modu, we have come to find you. Achu, Kamar Taj. Modu suddenly sneezes. After sneezing, he looks around in confusion. This is already his third sneeze today. Could it be that I caught a cold? Modu furrows his brow. According to reason, his constitution shouldn't catch a cold, right? How strange. Unable to figure it out, Modu shakes his head and chooses to put this matter aside. Continue training. Diligence and hard work are the only ways to become stronger. Only step by step. Sweat drips, and the crops grow. Great Shadow Demon, I am your devout follower in the mortal world. Now I am in trouble, can you lend me 500 yuan on WeChat? No, this scam might work on those idiots in hell, but it won't fool the dimensional demons. While Modu is diligently training, on the other side, Chu Shu is also practicing his conversation skills for the upcoming encounter with the Shadow Demon. At the moment, the ritual to summon the Shadow Demon has been set up. Looking around, the warehouse is filled with inscriptions and symbols drawn in blood. The red patterns are everywhere, from the ground to the walls. The strong smell of blood makes one feel as if they are in a slaughterhouse. Jin Bing has already regained consciousness from his coma. This well-informed big shot is obviously frightened by the changes in the warehouse. His face is pale, and his body trembles slightly. Definitely, it could also be because he has lost too much blood. Friend, we have done as you instructed, can you let us go now? Jin Bing doesn't know how to address Chu Shu. At this moment, he no longer harbors any hostility towards the Asian youth in front of him. He is scared, truly scared. This is no longer an existence that a beginner village boss like him can encounter. I almost forgot about you. Chu Shu turns around and looks at Jin Bing. If this fat guy hadn't said a word, he would have almost forgotten that this group of people was still here. You want to leave, right? No problem, I am a man of my word, known for my good reputation. Chu Shu walks up to Jin Bing. He pats his chubby face with his hand. But I have a small suggestion. You see, your line of work is so dangerous. Who knows, one day, if I'm in a bad mood, I might come and wipe you out. So, why don't you pay me some protection money every month? $1 million every month. Delivered to Building 2, Apartment 1001, Fandu Garden. Definitely, Fandu Garden was just a little joke between Chu Shu and Jin Bing. Chu Shu believed that with Jin Bing's means, finding his residence wouldn't be difficult. Aren't you afraid that Jin Bing will go back on his word and continue to cause trouble for you? That's not like your style. Daredevil covered his nose. He walked forward and asked, why haven't you left yet? Chu Shu turned around in surprise and looked at Daredevil. Are you still hoping to witness the arrival of the Shadow Devil? Also, do you see me as a heartless devil who kills without hesitation? Daredevil recalled Chu Shu's decisive killings earlier. He really wanted to say, aren't you? But in order to avoid getting beaten up. Daredevil didn't say those words. Instead, he silently left the warehouse with his cane. Chu Shu didn't explain. He kept watching Daredevil until he was far away before turning back. In fact, the reason why he didn't kill Jin Bing was simple. He thought this fat guy could still be useful. In the future, when summoning other demons, he would need to find sacrifices or other things. This kind of person might come in handy, and just a novice boss, no big deal, Chu Shu shrugged. If it weren't for the coincidence, he wouldn't have bothered with this underground king. He would rather expand his business with his free time. Like the Shadow Devil. By the way, the book didn't say that the Shadow Devil likes to collect human souls. It's not worth the effort, only to end up with nothing? Looking at the blood symbols covering the entire warehouse, Chu Shu felt both excited and anxious. He didn't forget the true purpose of summoning demons. To obtain their power, but what if he couldn't deceive the other party? Or if the other party simply refused to lend their power? If only I could just steal it, Chu Shu complained while setting up a formation specifically designed to banish dimensional demons. Soon, everything was ready. Chu Shu began to recite the incantation. Great Sarko, Master of Shadows, in my name, in the dark sky. As the speed of his speech increased, the incantation became more and more obscure and difficult to understand. Jia Qi Shu Feng Chu Yi. Zi Yi Yu San Ji. Ji Yi Ji Yi. Yi 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 Yi. Is it so difficult to pronounce? Chu Shu complained while reciting the incantation. And as the incantation progressed, the blood on the symbols and inscriptions seemed to ignite, emitting a red light. One after another, like a large gear driving a small gear. Soon, the entire warehouse was enveloped in a crimson glow. It was so red that it turned black, and it became darker and darker. Until the entire warehouse was surrounded by eerie darkness. A voice suddenly sounded from behind Chu Shu. Human, why have you summoned me? Chu Shu turned around and saw his own shadow slowly standing up. It turned into another Chu Shu and began to converse with him. Are you the Shadow Devil, Sarko? No, I mean, are you the Great Shadow Devil, the Master of Shadows? Chu Shu smiled, his face filled with piety, as if he had been a fanatic believer of the Shadow Devil for decades. Save it. I see the power of the Hell Dimension in you, you are not my follower. The Shadow Chu Shu remained indifferent to Chu Shu's flattery. He wasn't buying it at all. Speak, what do you want? The Shadow Devil was direct, none of the prepared rhetoric from Chu Shu was of any use. Unlike the demons from hell, the Shadow Devil was too straightforward, not beating around the bush at all. Seeing this, Chu Shu could only state his purpose. I want to borrow some of your power. As soon as these words were spoken, Shadow Chu Shu fell silent. It was straightforward, but not stupid. If a stranger suddenly approached you on the street and asked to borrow some money, would you lend it to them? The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Just when Chu Shu thought this deal was going to fall through and was about to activate the demon expelling formation to send the shadow demon back to its hometown. The other party suddenly spoke up. What can you give me? There's a chance. Chu Shu's eyes lit up. Immediately, he said, my soul, I am willing to offer my pure and flawless soul. Not enough, I also want all the power of the demons within you. Now it was Chu Shu's turn to fall silent. Well, this familiar script? Being deceived by others? Don't be nervous, human. The shadow demon seemed to sense Chu Shu's concern. I can give you the power first. Phew, that's a relief. Upon hearing this, Chu Shu immediately put his mind at ease. Okay, as long as you don't deceive me, it's fine. Children are young and naive, and they can't handle being deceived. They are most afraid of being deceived by others. What are you waiting for? Let's begin. The shadow demon didn't waste any words. The deal was reached, and the transmission began immediately. Compared to the power of the demons, the shadow demon's power was obviously much greater. The energy density was also higher, pitch black like ink. Like black rivers, constantly flowing into Chu Shu's body from the shadow dimension. Just as Chu Shu was happily absorbing the power of the shadow demon. On the other side, dozens of kilometers away, the streets of New York once again turned into ruins. The hastily arrived members of the Avengers Alliance once again witnessed a scene resembling a human purgatory. This time, demons were truly in the human world. Countless hellish demons roamed the streets. Those with wings hovered in the air, indiscriminately slaughtering every living person they saw. Where is Mordo? We want Mordo, Mordo. As the demons continued their slaughter, they also cursed a human named Mordo. What the hell? Who is Mordo? Iron Man Tony Stark, wearing the latest Mark 42 armor, arrived at the battlefield. Focus on the key points, Tony. What we need to do now is to stop them from crossing the defense line. A Quinjet flew in. Inside, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and others were on board. Natasha Romanoff, did you inform the military? Captain America asks. Before Black Widow could answer, Tony Stark's cursing voice came through the channel again. Do we even need to inform them? Those freeloaders, anyone with eyes can see it, right? As he spoke, the Mark 42 armor flew past the front of the Quinjet, dropping mini missiles onto a group of hellish demons. Boom 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 boom. Explosions covered an entire street. But soon, the demons emerged unscathed from the flames. What the hell? These guys are even harder to deal with than the Chittori. Conventional weapons are useless against them. Tony Stark cursed angrily. At this moment, he had experienced the Battle of New York and suffered from severe PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. His nerves were highly tense, he was like a powder keg ready to explode. Damn it! I told you guys, we should have armed the Earth with armor. But none of you listened to me, regarding Tony's complaints in the channel. Everyone fell silent. At the moment, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and others have already jumped off the plane and joined the battle. They have also discovered the tenacity and power of these demons. Conventional weapons are completely ineffective against them. Even the weakest hell demons are immune to hot weapons like pistols and submachine guns. As for those powerful demons, they are like walking tanks, rampaging and easily destroying everything in their path. Has anyone contacted Thor? How do we contact him? Call him? I haven't heard that Asgard can receive calls from here. Why hasn't the military arrived? These useless freeloaders. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Tony Stark tried every means possible. Repulsor beams, lasers, mini-missiles, he used them all, but only managed to barely kill a few demons. And there are hundreds and thousands of these demons in front of him. Seeing this situation, Tony, who already suffers from PTSD, becomes even more anxious and uneasy. Calm down, Tony. I don't want another scientist in the team to turn into a big green monster. Suddenly, a calm voice came through the Avengers channel. Upon hearing this voice, the tense atmosphere among the people eased slightly. You finally arrived, Dr. Banner. While Captain America was locked in a fierce battle with a hell demon, he responded with difficulty. Captain, I thought I had seen big scenes before. I didn't expect this to be worse than the last time. After Dr. Banner finished speaking, he immediately transformed into Hulk and jumped into the battlefield. His joining tilted the balance of the battle slightly towards the Avengers. But this slight tilt was soon completely overwhelmed by the appearance of another presence. Besides those magicians, when did other forces appear on Earth? Interesting. Blaster stood on a collapsed building, coldly watching the Avengers' appearance, but in his eyes, these humans who were fighting desperately were nothing more than slightly larger ants, that's all. Goodness. Did you see that big guy? Hawkeye, with the best eyesight in the Avengers Alliance, noticed Blaster in the distance. So he shot an arrow. An arrow with an explosive attached flew across the street. But before it could reach Blaster, the arrow was ignited by a terrifying temperature. Boom! The explosive on the arrowhead detonated. During the entire process, Blaster didn't even move. Just the terrifying temperature around it was enough to destroy the arrow shot by Hawkeye. Very weak, but commendable courage, Blaster glanced disdainfully at Hawkeye. Then, slowly drew out the battle sword that was over 10 meters long, from a distance of several hundred meters. A slash across the air, oh no, in Hawkeye's eyes. A blade of hellfire rapidly approached. At the critical moment, Hawkeye shot a rope arrow at the fastest speed. Using the rope, he swung dangerously to the opposite building. Boom! Just as Hawkeye dodged, his original position exploded into a sea of fire. The terrifying temperature even distorted the surrounding air. Step back, Barton, this guy is not someone you can handle. At the moment, other members of the Avengers Alliance also noticed Blast. Tony Stark flew in from a distance, using a few repulsor blasts to distract Blast. Repulsor blasts, laser, micro-missiles. Damn it. My weapons can't even hurt it. Tony, flying in the air, used all the weapons of Mark 42. But all he got was a contemptuous look from Blast. Weak attacks. Now it's my turn. After saying that, Blast aimed his sword at Tony in the air. Warning. Detecting a major threat, Tony's artificial intelligence, JARVIS, immediately issued an alert. I'm not blind, JARVIS. After Tony finished speaking, he immediately accelerated and flew towards where the Hulk was. After the battle in New York, Thor brought Loki back to Asgard. The Hulk became the only top combat power among the members of the Avengers Alliance. Hulk. I brought you a big guy. Oh damn, this thing can fly. Tony hadn't finished speaking yet. He was knocked down from the air by a huge impact. The Mark 42, which was already a test model, couldn't withstand the blow and was almost disintegrating in the air. Fortunately, at a critical moment, the jumping Hulk once again caught Tony as he fell. and placed him safely on the ground. Roar. Stop roaring, I'm not dead yet. Tony covered his ears and crawled out of the almost scrapped Mark 42. JARVIS, activate the party protocol, after giving the command. Tony looked up at the sky. Ballast, with a height of over 10 meters, hovered in the air, unfolding a pair of incredibly huge wings made of flesh. Covering the sky, casting a huge shadow. The same shadow also enveloped the hearts of every member of the Avengers Alliance. The oppressive feeling of a level sub-godfather overwhelmed everyone present, making it hard for them to breathe. Can this thing really be defeated? This question involuntarily arose in the hearts of everyone. On the other side, inside the SHIELD aircraft carrier, Nick Fury also witnessed the failure of the Avengers. In front of him, on several holographic projection screens, the High Council made a decision again. How about, shall we drop another nuclear bomb? Hearing this, Nick Fury, his already dark face turned as black as charcoal. A bunch of insects, you still have the nerve to mention a nuclear bomb? I strongly disagree. After saying that, Nick Fury reached into his pocket and tightly grasped a pager. If things really come to that point, there's nothing else he can do. In the warehouse in Jefferson Port, the darkness gradually dissipated. It's finally over. Just as the Avengers and SHIELD were about to fall into despair, Chu Shu finally absorbed all the energy from the shadow dimension. The moment he obtained it, Chu Shu grasped its most basic and most powerful use, transforming shadows into substance.